Hello, Lumineers, and welcome to another episode of Ink Play Pass. My name is Travis, and this is the show where I talk about all things Disney Lorcana. If you're new here, I would love it if you would hit that subscribe button or follow us over on Instagram at Ink Play Pass. In this week's episode, we are going to be recapping the PPG 15K in Denver, taking a look at how the Fabled metagame is developing, and reflecting on the highs and lows from the very first Challenge Championship qualifier. And stick around at the end of the show. We're going to be taking a look at some new products that leaked online this week that you may want to consider adding to your Disney Lorcana collection. But first, let's take a look back at the PPG Summit from last weekend. Okay, for those of you that are not aware, there was the first major tournament where players could qualify for nationals. This was the PPG CCQ in Denver. That's a lot of acronyms, but it is the Challenge Championship qualifier. This is the first tournament where players could really win a spot into nationals without having to go through a Disney Lorcana challenge. So this was a 3-day event that was held in Denver, Colorado. Friday was a 5K tournament, and the top 2 players from that tournament would then get a bye for the first 2 rounds of the 15K tournament that took place on Saturday and Sunday. So Saturday was the start of the 15K, and then Top Cut played on Sunday. This was a really cool event. I mean, I wasn't able to make it there in person, but I was following along thanks to an awesome stream team. They had a bunch of really solid streamers there to help broadcast the event. It included JDZ, Colors Law, Liam from the Illumineers, the Illumineers, and then Katie from Lore Keepers Inn, plus the team from the Forbidden Mountain was also there to not only cast the games, but they were also doing interviews. They were posting a ton of stuff on social media from the event. So even if you weren't able to go in person, there were still a lot of great ways to see what the event was like, as well as get to see a lot of really great gameplay. I pretty much had these streams on all weekend long so that I could pay attention to how players were leaning into some of these new deck builds, see some of the matchups, and really just get excited about this next season of Lorcana. So yeah, not everything went perfectly in Denver, but yeah, the stream itself was a lot of fun to watch. There were a lot of gaps sometimes in gameplay where commentators had to come up with some unique ways to fill the time. A lot of conversations, but the personalities that they had that were doing the casting really made it a lot of fun to watch. There were a few moments where a caster would be interviewing a player maybe right after a match, and they would do that sort of like on a PPG background and talk about what went well for them and what inspired their deck builds, things like that. But then they would go right into another interview, and they didn't cut away or anything like that. Like, they just have another caster come in and take one microphone, and another player come in and take the other microphone. That kind of stuff, just, I love it. It's so much fun for me to see just like the organic like process happening. So yeah, I really dug that, and the gameplay was covered really well. The setup for the stream was fantastic. I really didn't see any issues with the stream itself. It was just a lot of fun to watch. So big thanks to PPG and all the team that worked so hard all weekend long to make that stream possible. Some of the things that happened over the weekend, there's obviously some major issues, but one of the things that didn't exactly go according to plan was with the software that they used to run this tournament. This was a tournament that was utilizing the Ravensburger Play Hub, and for most people that play Disney Lorcana, you know that this software isn't perfect. It's still relatively new, and for an event this size with over 300 players, yes, things can go wrong. The problem with that is when they got into the second round of the tournament on Saturday, it actually didn't record people's game records. It actually dropped the entire round. And there was a lot of backlash online about people having to either replay matches or not getting credit for the matches that they won. And for a card game, especially a card game with thousands of dollars on the line and a potential invite to a major national tournament, that software is super important, that it works correctly. For the most part, personally, I haven't had a ton of problems with PlayHub, but I certainly haven't played in anything this large. I believe tournament organizers had to switch to another software so they could manage the rest of the tournament, which is unfortunate. But there are things about PlayHub I really like. Having timers on the page when you're playing. There's just some user interface things that I really enjoy about it. I think it's still really early on the sort of minimum viable concept for this application. I hope they continue to invest in it. One thing I would love to see, just as a personal note, is we have a My Events tab where you can, once you've signed up for an event or played in an event, you can see all of those events sort of in a list. I wish that they would do like a My Stores event. The search feature works pretty well, but every time I navigate away from a page, I have to then go back and search for the area that I'm looking for again. And that can be a challenge. That can be frustrating to have to do that over and over again. If I could save a group of stores to my account so that I could just look at all the stores that I frequently go to in my area, that would be super huge for me to be able to look up tournaments and things like that. So if any PlayHub, developers hear this, please give us a My Stores tab. I would absolutely love that. But yeah, I'm hopeful that this will continue to improve, and that as we get into DLC Milwaukee and things like that, they will have worked out some of those issues. Maybe do a few more large-scale tests just to make sure that the stability of the application continues to work pretty well. Before we get into a couple of deck reviews for the top players at this tournament, there is one other sort of unfortunate situation that happened with DLC, or I'm sorry, not DLC, but the Pro Play Games tournament in Denver. And that was a situation that happened going into the top 4 round, where one of the players was disqualified from the tournament. And it surprised a lot of people. This was something that I was at home watching the stream. I actually watched the top 8 round on stream as I was getting ready to leave my house to go to our local game store for a Lorcana event. And yeah, it was really a very entertaining round of Lorcana. There was a blue-purple Blurple player who had kind of a miraculous comeback. It looked like early in game 3 that they weren't going to hit the cards that they needed, and they were actually able to find some really helpful cards that allowed them to win the game, kind of a comeback from behind victory. One of their teammates on stream was one of the casters, and they got kind of emotional after the game, just seeing them able to pick up the win. And to me, I thought that was pretty cool. I was like, it's great to see teammates kind of excited for each other and stuff like that. Hopped in the car, headed to my local game store. I was gonna watch the finals match streaming on my phone while we waited to play at the store. And in that time, it was revealed, I saw it on social media, that that player had actually been disqualified. And the reason that was given was marked cards. There is a lot of assumptions. There's a lot of people talking about what was marked, which cards, how they were marked, things like that. Some of that is speculation. I don't want to get into the speculation of all of that, but what we do know is that David Nunez from the Forbidden Mountain team um, was disqualified, and a couple of days later, he released a statement where he blamed the sleeves for his deck, saying that he didn't know which sleeves were incorrect or messed up, but for whatever reason, the judges decided that um, this the cards were marked intentionally, and they disqualified him from the tournament. Um, Beyond that, Nunez was then also um, he he and the team, the Forbidden Mountain, also parted ways. So I don't know what other ramifications or fallout will come of this with competitive Lorcana. There are a lot of people online that are expressing opinions, people that know the players, people that were there, people that weren't there. So I don't want to speak to that, but I do want to say for the judge program, which Lorcana doesn't have an official judge program, and it's something that I'd really love to see. But also, like, just from the company standpoint, they don't need to necessarily tell us exactly what happened. They don't owe that to us, but it would be really nice for some sort of clarity, some sort of official explanation from Lorcana, so that we could set a standard for other players. Yes, we have the official rules. We have the official rules on what is and isn't cheating, and what the consequences are for breaking those rules. But I think there are times where, I mean, the only official statement we have from Nunez is that, oh, like, they were bad sleeves. But obviously that's not that's typically, if you read the official rules, not enough to disqualify a player. Maybe give them a game loss, but I would like to see some sort of official statement that just lays the groundworks for what the repercussions are for cheating in competitive Lorcana. So, all right, that's all I'll say about that. Hopefully, in the future, we can get past this and continue to see really great competitive play on stream and in person at these tournaments. All right, let's get into some of the Fabled meta and some of the decks that really stood out from this Denver event. Okay, so like I said earlier, this was a huge event that took place over a number of days. The Friday event, the 5K, was a little bit smaller, and it had a little bit of a different meta, a little bit different deck presence on that first day. Some decks that weren't as popular in day two. And going into day two, I feel like people played those matches on Friday, maybe got a sense for what some other people were playing, and then adjusted their focus to maybe account for some of the other decks that were out there. Looking specifically at the 15K on Saturday, the standout deck taking up the most of the meta share was Blurple, the Sapphire Amethyst deck with 31%, 86 players playing some version of Blurple. And then as we've seen, Amethyst continuing to sort of dominate with Amethyst Steel taking up another 23%. So over half of the decks rocking Amethyst, and that's great. But kind of emerging on, especially on day two, were these Emerald Sapphire decks, the Baja Blast decks. We talked a little bit about them in the last episode, where I broke down a version of this deck that I've been playing for a little bit at my locals. But yeah, 45 people playing the Emerald Sapphire deck, and then only 15% representing Amber Steel, which ultimately went on to not only win the tournament, but the top two players playing in a mirror match, an Amber Steel mirror match. So let's take a look at the Amber Steel deck. This one's from Sky, who actually won the tournament, and see what cards he used to come out on top. Okay, so Amber Steel is certainly not a new deck in the format. People that have been playing Lorcana for a very long time are familiar with the idea of Steel Songs or some hyper aggro using Amber and Steel. But this deck makes some adjustments. Obviously, we lost some pretty core cards from the deck after rotation, and this deck is a lot of fun to play. I built a version of this deck that I played last weekend for my locals. Did pretty well with it, and really I built it because I was expecting to see a lot of Blurple decks and a lot of Sapphire that the week before a lot of people were playing. Unfortunately, those people didn't show up with their decks last week, and 2 of the top 4 decks were an Amber Steel deck. But let's take a little bit of a look at this deck and see what makes it really effective. A couple of cards that you definitely expect to see with this. Obviously, the 1-drop Daisy Duck, just a super solid card to have. You've got Doc, which is going to continue to refill your hand as you play him. Nala, this new Fabled Nala card, a 2-drop uninkable, quest for 2, 0/2, but when she doesn't have any damage on her, she also has resist and quest for an additional lore. Super strong card, very impactful. Interesting. Oh, and then obviously Tiana. Tiana is seeing a huge resurgence right now. Any Amber player is looking for copies of Tiana. This card is skyrocketing in price on the resale market as well, because that ability where when she is exerted, your opponent has to pay 3 ink to challenge, otherwise they lose 3 strength. It just becomes extremely difficult for characters to challenge into your board and remove some of the players without having to deal with Tiana in some way. So other things that stood out to me, the Troubadour. I'm not currently running Troubadour in my deck, but having a 2-drop inkable with resist and Singer 4, I believe. Yeah, this is a great way to be able to get Strength of Raging Fire out a little bit earlier. Get some other characters on your board. Also notable in this is the 1-drop Aurora. This card is something that I had thrown into just like a random off-meta princess deck, but the synergy here with Aurora being able to, once she, I think it's when she quests, when she quests, you can pay 1 less for a princess or queen character, and this works really well both for Tiana. Obviously, if you can get Tiana out on turn 2, that really puts your opponent at a disadvantage. But also, the 1-drop Mulan is also a princess, so you can play that character for free, draw an additional card, and maybe get rid of one of those cards that you're looking for, or that you're not looking for. Pete, only 3 copies of Pete in this deck. Pete is still great against like the Emerald, Sapphire. If you can block a well-timed Under the Sea, that could be a difference maker, or even stopping your opponent from playing something like Strength of a Raging Fire, even Fire the Cannons. That's really great, but there aren't a ton of actions being played right now in a lot of these decks, so maybe only 3 copies. That's the rationale behind that. And then finally, the Pluto Guard Dog, 1/5, but when he doesn't have any damage, he's +4 strength and has Bodyguard, a great way to protect your Tiana, protect your other characters, and potentially, win you the game. So obviously, really, really great deck. It was really effective at this tournament. Congrats again to Sky for not only winning the tournament, but earning that first spot in Nationals. And I'm excited about this. Like, I'm not traditionally much of an Amber player, but I've been playing with this deck a good bit over the last week or so, and I'm not great with it, but I'm learning a lot, and I'm interested to see if players adjust the cards that they're running to target answers for this deck in particular, or if it continues to show a lot of success as we move in through the next month and a half of this set. All right, moving on from this deck, now let's go into another deck. This is the third place deck. Let's look at how Blurple was represented in Denver. All right, Blurple fans, here we go. Let's take a look at the third place deck from this tournament from Jordan Sierro. The Blurple, a lot of staple cards that we're used to seeing now. Those super pricey Dumbos from Fabled making an appearance. To go along with that, some other great evasive cards like your Genies, Iagos, Elsa, a must play, and pretty much any Amethyst deck, I feel like. So you get that synergy as well. Your 1-drops running Basil and Rafiki. The support ability on Basil is really great to have. Being able to challenge into some 3 willpower characters with a Tipo, I don't hate that, right? That's super nice to be able to do. And then you have your ramp. You've got Tipo, Sail the Azurite Sea, running 4 copies of Into the Unknown, a little bit of direct removal for those exerted characters, and then a card that went completely unnoticed in earlier sets and is now become pretty popular. I know several people that are playing this in my local area. Second Star to the Right. This is a 10 cost uninkable Sing Together that when you play it, it lets you draw 5 cards, which is huge. Being able to empty your hand, get that ramp, establish a board, and then have those characters be able to sing and get 5 more cards into your hand is really nice. If this card hits when you don't have the characters on board, it's almost impossible to do anything with. Maybe you can ink it with Tipo, but otherwise, you don't want this card taking up too much space in your hand if you don't have the characters to sing it. But a great answer if you're able to use it and get that extra card draw. Another interesting thing in this is 2 copies of Monstro. I've heard a little bit of back and forth about Monstro. I have some friends who run Blurple who swear by it. They are able to get a lot of card draw, and then having that rush character be able to come in, discard some cards, especially against maybe like the Amber Steel deck that we were just looking at. If it's a lot of low strength characters that they're playing on board, Monstro can do a really great job of cleaning up the board and taking out a lot of those high willpower characters as well, hitting for 6. So other people think it's too slow or that it's not as effective. So I don't know, if you're a Blurple player, let me know what you think. Are you in on Monstro, or are you not really as interested? Are you more of an Ishmael? If you get that joke, leave a comment down below. But so other standouts from this, a few more actions. You have Develop Your Brain, Hypnotic Strength. These are becoming staples in the current Blurple decks. TikTok, another evasive. Maybe some Dumbo synergy, as well as just being a inkable card with 4/7 that can really, again, attack into whether it's an opponent's spell or some other stronger willpowered character and still survive that challenge is really nice. Madam Mim Elephant. Yes, the bounce package is mostly gone, but Madam Mim Elephant in this deck, they're running 3 copies, but this card, my son is running it in his Amethyst Steel deck, and it can be a menace. The fact that it has 3 strength and 7 willpower, but has the effect where at the start of your turn, you may move 2 damage characters from this character to a chosen opposing character. If you do not banish this character in one turn, leaving damage on it is terrible. Being able to automatically move that damage. A lot of the cards that I've been playing, relatively low willpower. So yeah, this is a very interesting card that, again, did not see a lot of play when we had Madam M Foxes and some of the other bounce cards. But now that those are gone, this is a pretty strong card that's seeing a lot of play. So let me know what you think. What do you think of this build? Is this something that you would consider running? What cards would you change? Are you playing something different in Blurple? Love to hear those comments as well. Okay, so those were some of the decks that showed a lot of success from the Pro Play Games tournament in Denver. Again, huge dominance from the Blurple decks. Amethyst Steel, 63. That Baja Blast, green blue, 47 of the decks, and then 38 Amber Steel. After that, not a double digit for any other deck combination. In fact, Ruby was only in one deck. There were 5 decks were running a Ruby Amethyst combo. So really 4 decks that are standing out right now at this point in Fabled, and the least represented of the 4 actually went on to win the tournament. So it is really interesting as people continue to sort of analyze what the new meta is looking like, which of these decks are really going to stand out. Something that was very surprising to me was, despite all of the Amethyst Steel, it being the second most popular deck, when you look at the top cut for the top 16, there is not a single Amethyst Steel deck that made it to that top cut. A lot of Blurple, a lot of Amber Steel, a couple of tables with some Emerald Sapphire, but that was it. No Amethyst Steel making it to that top 16. So what does that say for my son's deck? He plays Amethyst Steel. I'm not sure. We'll have to continue to see. Is there something wrong with the deck itself? Does it just not pair well against some of these Blurple opponents? I don't know. We'll have to continue grinding and checking that out. All right. Before we get out of here, there's one more thing that I want to talk about, and this is something that was not released officially. So there's some sort of speculation about this, but it is about a new product that is potentially coming in early 2026. So these are some leaked images. If you go to Amazon in the United States, you won't see these products, but some people have been sharing these online. I saw these over on Instagram, but these are what appear to be some collector's books that are potentially coming out next year. They look like they have art for all of the cards. They're split into almost years of collections, right? There's a book for sets 1 through 4, and then a book for sets 5 through 8. They have card art for all of the cards, as well as they dig into the lore a little bit more behind Lorcana. So those stories that sort of drive the narrative through those cards should be in here as well. But interesting product. I love art books. I love books that celebrate the art behind some of my favorite IPs. So if this is in fact something that is coming, super excited to see some more details on it and potentially add it to my collection. And with that, that is going to do it for this week's episode of Ink Play Pass. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching. Again, if you're new here, please like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let us know what your favorite part of the episode was. And then follow us over on Instagram at Ink Play Pass so that we can connect and talk more about Lorcana throughout the week. That's going to do it for now. Again, my name is Travis. Thank you so much for watching.